Hello and welcome to another episode of A Simple Path to Wellbeing podcast. My name's Paul Garrigan. Today I'm going to be talking about trust. And this is a continuation of the last two episodes. So I've been basically looking at the different aspects of well-being. And I've already mentioned in previous episodes wonder, and we've also looked at intimacy. So today we're going to be looking at trust. Out of the three aspects of well-being, this was the most difficult for me to get. And it was also the most important for me to get, because so much of my struggle in life was due to a lack of trust or an inability to trust, which meant I was always trying to escape life. So when I talk about trust here, I need to be clear. What I mean is no longer trying to escape life. To be able to be with what's here. Now, of course, a large part of that is acceptance, but it's actually more than acceptance, and I'll go into that a bit later. Because, of course, we can accept things and still it can make our life miserable. When I look back on my life, so much of it has been about trying to escape life. In Buddhism, this desire to escape is referred to as craving. And the Buddha identified three types of craving. One was craving for non-existence. This is the craving for things that are here not to be here. Then there is the craving for existence. That's craving things that aren't here to be here. Then there's the craving for sensual pleasure, and for sensual pleasure to last. So we're feeling a nice feeling and we want it to last forever. And these are three ways of denying reality, of resisting reality, of avoiding reality. This kind of constant pushing things away and trying to pull them towards us and trying to reject what's here and trying to hold on to what's here. And when we don't do that, that's what I mean by trust. A big lesson with trust came to me at the end of my addiction problem. So one of my favourite ways of trying to escape life for years was alcohol. That lasted for almost 2 decades. Then in 2006, I finally managed to stop drinking for good. I went to a temple here in Thailand called Tam Kabok. And I knew at that temple, during my stay there, that my problem with alcohol was over. I knew that beyond any doubt. But that wasn't the end of my problem. In the first year after I stopped drinking, quite a few things seemed to go wrong in my life, or things were happened in such a way that it led me to this position where I desperately wanted to escape. Desperately wanted to escape what was going on. And my normal way of reacting to that would have been to drink alcohol. But not only did I realise, in this particularly bad day where it all came on top of me, everything that was going on, and I was in this incredible, I just felt completely overwhelmed by everything. And I knew there was that if the option of alcohol wasn't going to be there, but I could also see that there was no any means that I could think of to try to escape what was happening wasn't going to work. And that left me in this most terrible position, my nightmare position of having to actually face life. But the amazing thing is that when I did that, that's when things really started to change for me. See, it's very easy to give up one addiction, like to give up one way of avoiding life and just run straight to another way of avoiding life. And I use things like meditation as a way to avoid life. My dearest dream was to be somehow to transcend life so I wouldn't have to deal with it. So I wouldn't have to deal with the messiness of life. And in many ways, that was no different than using alcohol. Sure, it caused less problems, but it was still this attempt to avoid life. And it's like anything. We can use practically anything in the wrong way. And that always means when we're doing it to avoid life. So for me, addiction isn't about how much we do something. It's about why we're doing it. And it's the fact that we're doing it to avoid life that makes it a problem. Because, doing things a lot doesn't necessarily make it a problem. Some of us will sleep for 8 or 9 hours a night. That's a lot. When you think it's a big proportion of the day, but we're not necessarily going to class that as an addiction. We may spend another 8 or 9 hours at work. We're not necessarily going to call that an addiction either. So for me, it's not about the amount we do something. It's always about why we're doing it. And anything that I've ever done in an attempt to avoid what's happening has always turned out badly. And eventually, that realization hit me. And it wasn't a nice realization. It scared the hell out of me that there was no escape from life. That scared the hell out of me. But the amazing thing was that once I was able to accept that, and once I became willing to face life, everything I've been looking for and more suddenly became available. There's a lovely quote, which I would say is one of the best definitions of trust. It's by a Christian mystic called Anthony de Mello, where he described awakening as absolute cooperation with the inevitable. We're constantly trying to fight the inevitable, and it's no wonder that we suffer so much. And I think when most of us honestly look at our life, we see so much of it is about that. That we're constantly rejecting what's here. We're constantly rejecting who we are because we have these ideas about who we should be. And we also have other people's ideas about who we should be. And that's what that's what's causing the problem. Then we've all these ideas about how life should be. That's what's causing the problem. Now, saying this, it could be easily misunderstood to say, oh, does that mean, is this a kind of, resignation? That we just, that we don't do anything and just kind of lie on the couch and let life, kick us all over the place? Does it mean this kind of complete giving up on ourselves and giving up on life? Absolutely not. This is about, we're only talking about what's here, what's already happened. We don't realise, and it's like this, the mind does this kind of bait and switch. It fools us and prevents us from seeing that the thing we're rejecting is already here and can't be rejected. Sure, you can change next week or next month or next year, but we can't change who we are at this moment because it's already here. And that's what we're rejecting. Yes, we can learn things from who we are now, and we can learn from mistakes we make now. But that's not going to apply to now. And it's a very subtle thing, and we don't realise we're doing it, that what we're pushing away is already here. It's already a fact. And there is no who you should be. Who you should be is a fantasy. It's only who you are in this moment that matters. And the same with life. We have these ideas about how life should be and what should be happening, and it's just absolute nonsense. There only is what's happening. Or how we should be feeling. I'll often hear from clients who have a nice experience in meditation one day, maybe they'll feel a bit of bliss or some other altered state. And so what happens is the next time they sit down to meditate, they have that expectation that this is what meditation should be like. And of course it doesn't work like that. And it's about, it's not about, and this is something I misunderstood for so long. Meditation isn't about recreating the same experience over and over again, an experience that we like. It's about learning to be at peace with whatever's arising. And we do that in meditation so we can begin to do it in our lives. And it's doing it in our lives that's the most important thing. Because once you're no longer resisting life, what you can accomplish then becomes incredible. When you're working with life, things you would never have believed possible become possible. Because the real magic happens in how we relate to what's happening. It's not about controlling what's happening. Another very interesting aspect of trust is that we stop wanting to be saved from life. What often happens is life saves us. Our luck saves us or whatever. So say we have an argument with a friend. And because of that argument, we can be this intense mental torture. This incredible sense of rejection. And we're stuck in it. But then we receive a call from the friend and the friend apologizes and suddenly it's all okay again. But is it? We've just been saved from that pain. But that pain is just waiting to be triggered again. And that's what happened, with me. I kind of realized that life kept on giving me these reprieves from my pain. But that's all it ever was, and that one day I would have to actually face that pain. I'm not saying that we don't want the friend to phone back or apologize. We don't want things to be resolved. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I mean is we stop depending on that. That we start to understand that no matter what's happening in life, that we're able to handle it. We're able to be with it. There never is any more sense of wanting to escape life. So just for a moment or two, just to give you a sense of what I mean by trust, just take in your surroundings and take in your current situation. And just consider the idea that this is exactly how it needs to be at this moment. And completely allow it to be as it is in this moment. Don't resist it. Just accept what's happening now without judgment. What you start to notice is this resistance against life, this pushing it away, can actually be felt in the body as a tension. And we don't notice it because we're so used to it. But it's almost like we're walking around like a clenched fist all the time. And that can be incredibly draining, both physically and mentally. It's like this constant no to life that many of us experience and can experience for years and years and years. And when that tension starts to loosen, it's such an incredible thing. And we feel so much lighter. So as I say, trust is this realization that the answer isn't to escape life or push life away or even to control life. It's all about relating to life in a skillful way. And you start to find that there's always a skillful way to relate to life. There's always a way of relating to life where you can be at peace with it. So an example of this would be, say, financial stuff. So a lot of us forget that what we're actually looking for is security, a sense of security, which is trust. But we can spend our life chasing money, and maybe we'll get some. But there's no guarantee that no matter how much money you have, that you'll ever feel really secure. Secure is a way of relating to life. It's trusting life, and money doesn't necessarily give you that. As I said earlier on as well, there's more to trust than just acceptance. There's a lovely quote by the Stoic Marcus Aurelius, where he says, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you, but do so with all your heart." So it's not only this acceptance of things, but accept with all your heart. This embrace of what's there, this ability to work with what's there, this willingness to love our lives and appreciate our lives. And we talked about appreciation in an earlier podcast and how important that is. When we start to do that, when we start to trust, then we open up to what's called in Chinese philosophy as wu, effortless action. That just like our pancreas can control the insulin level dependent on the amount of glucose in the blood, and all of these other parts of our body does these incredible things that we're not even aware of, that our mind has this ability to navigate life in just the same way. That when we get out of the way, and when we stop, this sense of having to resist things and push things away, that our life starts to be able to navigate. That just like the pancreas can produce the right amount of insulin, so our mind can start producing ideas as we need them. But of course, sometimes there won't be a good idea. There won't be a right answer at any given moment, and we just have to accept that. We can only, it's never going to be a perfect system, but at least we won't be making the situation worse. And this resisting life certainly doesn't make things better. It only ever makes things worse. So that was a little bit about trust. If there's anything you'd like me to cover in the podcast, any questions, please, because what I'm going to be doing because now that we've covered the basics, I want to start dedicating episodes to specific questions that come up in regards to what I've been saying. I mean, there are some other topics I want to cover soon as well, particularly around imaginal work. But any question you guys have, please send them to me. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider sharing with other people. Please consider subscribing where you get your podcasts. And if you'd like to do some coaching with me, you'll find information in the description. So thanks very much for listening, and I'll see you again next time.